attributes. First is the action attribute, right? It specifies the URL to send data from, to or from, right? You can send data or you can receive data. Okay, so this is defined in the action attribute. Then we have the method attribute. It specifies the type of HTTP request that we get. Is it a get or a post, right? For example, if you see form, then the action is my form submitting page. It will go to that page. It will submit all the details on that page. And it's a post. The method that we're using is post. So input is used to accept data from the user. So anything that you want the user to input, you will use this tag, that is input tag, inside the form tag. Now there are different types of inputs. Let's see one by one what are those inputs. So the first input is text. It is used to store data in the form of text, right? And the syntax is simple, that you have to write a type, and then in double quotes you have to write the text. Okay, you can enter passwords, right? And the syntax is type equal to password. You have placeholders, that is temporary text inside the input fields, right? If you might have filled some forms, right, in some different websites there, and you have some temporary text written, enter your first name here, enter your last name here. It is generally accompanied by text and the password attributes, right? Wherein you have to write your first names or you have to write your passwords. It will give you an example kind of a thing, right? Wherein you will write insert text here. Okay, so the placeholder is the simple syntax of this is placeholder, then equal to in the double quotes, then your the message whatever you want to give. Okay, so let's suppose you are entering your first name, you will give placeholder equal to double quotes, then in double quotes you will write first name. Okay, then you have button. Again, it's used to include buttons in your form, and the type is, you have to write type equal to button, and then the value that you want that button to have, insert text here or anything, right? Then you once click on that, where whatever the value is, okay, will be rendered on the, or will be sent to that page. Okay, then you have submit button. It is used to creating submit button. All the data will get submitted when it is clicked, right? And the type of it should be button, or the type of it should be submit. And the syntax is simple, that you have to write type equal to submit in double quotes. Then you have something that is called checkbox, wherein you can check multiple options, right? Let's suppose you have a checkbox and its syntax is simple, that you will write type equal to checkbox. It To check default option, by default set it with checked attribute. Now if you want to use some default attribute in it or default option in it, you have to use an attribute that is called checked. Okay, I'll show you in the demonstration part what each and every um, attribute means and what are the different types of it. Okay, so then we have radio button, wherein you want to choose only single option, then you will write type equal to radio, right? So if you want to select anything, you have to again use a select tag. For every possible option, you will use the select tag. Okay, so then you have text areas where you can write multiple, or in plain text editing control you can use syntax, wherein you will write text area inside the tag, and you can specify how large the text area is by using rows and column attributes. Okay, a label is also there. It adds caption for individual item in the form. Let's suppose you want to enter name, first name, right? Now you will be using this label as first name, and then you will use input type. What is the type of that? Or let's suppose you're trying to enter text, so you will use input type text. Okay, so label is used for placing control element inside the label. Okay, so you can use this label, and then you will use these controlling elements that for and IDs can be used. Okay, validation can also be done inside the form with the help of required and email and all those things. Okay, so now let's see these things in action. Okay, now let's suppose I have already created this page for you, so that I don't have to write this again and again. So now if you see, the title here is register or registration form. Let's call it a registration, or let's call it register. Let's keep it simple. Okay, so now we have here a register form. Okay, or you can write it registration. Okay, you can write it registration form. Okay, in the heading. Okay, now you have this registration form, and in this you will use a form tag. Okay, the method and action attributes are not specified, as we are not creating something that needs to be stored, or we don't require as of now. Okay, so we can skip this for now. So then we have a label button, and it contains the name, first name, and inside this label button, inside this entire label button, if you can observe carefully, we have written this input type text. Right now you have your first name, and then there's a text button, and inside that it is used for backend purposes, wherein you can refer to this text box with the help of this name as first name. So you also have placeholder, where you can type first name, and it is also required that it is we are doing some kind of validation on this, or we can say that this is the this first name is absolutely necessary. You can't skip it. Okay, so similar thing is done with on the last name, and then we all have also entered the break line. right? So that there is an enter between these two things. Okay, so same thing, placeholder is last name and it's again required. Now we again have a label, and in this we have a radio button, and we have grouped these together, these three things. Okay, what we have a label male, female and other, and we have a type radio, and all of them have a name that is used to group them, and it's all gender, name is all gender. Now with this we have linked all of these together, and we can select only one of them. Okay, then we also have an input type as email. Again, the label has been used to in order to just show that this is an email, and you can put your email here and type as email, name is email, and placeholder as your email. It will be reflected on your registration form, okay, that we just created. And again, it's required, so you cannot say skip it, right? Then also you have a password, and input type is password, and placeholder again we have used what enter your password. Okay, and now after that we have written some pattern here. Okay, now what does this mean? This means that you have to write, or your password length should be equal to 5, or it should be greater than or less than. It should be 5, or it can be 6. It should be minimum is 5 and maximum is 10. Okay, the length, in terms of length. Okay, this is the pattern, another attribute that we have used. Okay, so it's a required, and the title is please enter your password length between 10 to 5. If in case you get your pattern wrong, that is it, in case it's you have written, let's suppose, 4 words as in your password, there are only 4 words, right? A B C D, then this title message will be reflected. It will be shown that please enter password of length 5 to 10 characters, okay, or anything, right? So then the label is closed, and then we have a break line. Okay, so again we have a label, and we have used for, and IDs can be used in terms of we are selecting. We use a selector here, and we have a per day here, a label, and in that we are selecting from these options, and the first option is month, and then there is Jan, Feb, March and April. So this is the first that we are going to select from, and then this is the month, right? And then we have the day that we're going to select from, 1 2 3 4, and then we have the year that we're going to select from. Okay, 1990 to 1994. Okay, again we are using, at the end we are using this break line. Okay, now then we have a checkbox wherein if you try to, if you might observe that these things you occur, these things you face if you're trying to download anything, then you get a agreement, right? Agreement message that click here on the checkbox sign is there also, right? You click on that, and then you go ahead with the process that you agree to the terms and condition of that software that you're downloading, right? So this is similar to that. You have a label, and you have some conditions. I agree to the terms and condition, and input type is checkbox. So you just click on it and start. So another thing is that there's another type that is submit, and you will write this. So we have a submit button, and it will be the name will be written on it will be written submit. Okay, so now let's see this form, how it looks. Let's save this file. So now let's run this form, and let's see how our form looks. This is the earlier table that we created, and this is how our form looks, and this is the submit button that we have. Okay, so now we have clicked submit, and you see this is the required. When I wrote required on this means that please fill this field. Okay, this is the placeholder. That name is written first name. This is the placeholder. Okay, that first name that you see grade, this is your placeholder. So I will write FAZ, that is the first name, and last name is DDD. And then these are the radio buttons. You can only select one of them. If you try to select the other will be disabled. Okay, so then if you try to submit it again, it will again show you, because email is also required. So I wrote some email. Let's suppose this is the email, and then some password. I wrote only 2 characters. Now if I submit it, it will throw me a message that please match the following format requested, that please enter characters between 5 to 10. So I wrote 5, and we are done. Then I can select. I have used these selectors, and which I'm selecting month, day and year, and it's Feb, it's second, and I only have limited option, it's 1991. Okay, so once I clicked on the submit button, it again got refreshed. Okay, since we are not storing it anywhere. Okay, so these are all the options that are, and all the tags that are used in the form.